Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome back to a new video. So in this one, I'm going to be taking a look at a Lechonk League update for the set Paldea Evolved. I am consciously aware that, like 4 people watch these videos, and, if you made it this far into the video, have a cookie and all the rest of it. But basically, I'm just going to be very sporadic with uploads to alternate formats from here on out, I think, with the exception of GLC, of course. So for homemade alternate formats, primarily formats that I've made, basically I'll just do like one, maybe 2 videos for each new set. That might be too many as well, but either way, I will link documents in each of these videos from now on for the Lechonk League, especially because I made a document compiling all the legal Pokemon or recommended Pokemon, I guess, because I can't really police it. So all recommended Pokemon, all trainers, all rules, all that kind of stuff. So if you can't stand my voice, or you don't want to watch the videos, you don't want to watch recaps, you don't want to see the starter videos or anything, everything will be in a document. So that will be linked in the description if you do want to see that. Also, you can use that, of course, to craft your own decks, I guess. So without further ado, though, we'll get into the Paldea Evolved update. So what is the Lechonk League? So I probably should have explained that at the start of the video, so I guess we're at the start now. What is the Lechonk League? Decks are constructed with a minimum of 12 Pokemon, but no more than 4 of each type, which is important. So it basically means that players have to play several different typings in their deck. It also means that type coverage can be a pretty big deal. It's singleton Pokemon and special energy. So Pokemon, 1 copy of each of them, same for special energy. Decks are built from a card pool of low HP cheap Pokemon. So basically the whole thing about the Lechonk League, or like the whole gimmick, is that every Pokemon in the format is just very low HP. So Lechonk, hence the name. It was originally supposed to be a Goomy Magikarp deck, like the Lechonk League thing, because originally the Lechonk League was actually supposed to be a deck challenge for just several Pokemon. But then eventually I decided it had a little bit more potential than that and expanded it beyond there. It is based on Mini League, if you're more familiar with that. So Mini League was basically there was like 2 events that were held over in December, and they were held on Limitless. And basically what Mini League was, is it was basically like Lechonk League, almost identical really. There was just more Pokemon, you had to include more Pokemon in your deck. There was also a limit on basic energy. I think there was a minimum requirement of like 15 or something. And you could also only run singleton trainer cards. It's 2 of trainer cards here. But unfortunately, I didn't see anything else for Mini League past those 2 events or since. If you have, then please do let me know, of course. But I haven't seen anything since, and I really wanted to expand on that, so that's why the Lechonk League still getting videos, I guess. So I have mentioned before that it can't play more than 2 of each trainer card, so that includes stadiums and whatnot. And the full card pool recommended Pokemon, as mentioned previously, it's on a document linked in the description. So what are the main characteristics of the format? Because I rarely get into this, but basically the lowest HP is of course Magikarp. Magikarp really nothing broken, so he is the lowest. Then about the mid range is stuff like Waterol, which has around 60, 50 HP stuff. And then Flamigo is honestly on the bigger side, 110 HP. And then the 2 Pokemon with the biggest HP in the entire format, and these are the biggest, are Chansey and Gyarados from the set Evolutions. So Gyarados is like a rare exception where very few stage 1s are legal in the Lechonk League, but several of them are, including this Gyarados. And Gyarados has the highest HP out of any basic or stage 1 legal in the format. Just this one Gyarados in Expanded. Now, as far as I'm aware, this Gyarados is from the XY block, even though the set is called Evolutions. So I'm pretty sure this card, you can't use any of these cards on TCG Live, unfortunately. I'm still hoping that TCG Live will add the full expanded format and hopefully maybe another alternate format at some point, i.e. GLC. But, Gyarados won't be legal on TCG Live for a while, which kind of sucks. But still, you can play it IRL if you want. And if you just look at these attacks, it's obviously nothing too crazy. Like Bullet Beam does 50 damage for 3 water energy. Flip a coin of heads, Polarises. Seems pretty strong, but, 50 damage for 3 energy, it's kind of bad. Does KO some Pokemon, but if the average HP is 60 or 70, then Bullet Beam honestly isn't that broken. And then Dragon Rage for 4 water energy does 180, and if either of them are tails, this attack does nothing. So you kind of have to pair Gyarados up with a stadium such as Glimmer Tangle, which is legal in the format. Of course, you could also use Gyarados, Chansey, and Flamigo in some kind of stall deck, which I've definitely theorized about because of their high HP. So just looking at some art rares, this isn't directly important to the video or anything, but I just thought it was worth bringing up because all the Pokemon in the decks are of course singleton. So being honest, it's very tempting to just splash out for a couple of these just purely for a deck. So, stuff like the Magikarp and the Famigo, like obviously I wouldn't go out my way to, craft 4 of these on TCG Live, but because it's just a one-off in a deck, then I don't really mind doing it. There's also some Pokemon here which wouldn't usually see play in Standard that are, good in the Chunk League, i.e. Sandygast is pretty decent because of its high hit points. Paldea and Whipper can find you a Stadium card, Tinkatink can retrieve an item, Croxley is actually really annoying with Apply Gel. So there is some decent cards here. Apologies for the image quality not being perfect. But, I do think, it's something worth bringing up because the format is, of course, singleton. So it's nicer to, gives you a reason to splash out, basically, on some rarer cards. Next up, though, we actually get into the new trainers that were added. Of course, these are all still listed in the document if we want to go back there for reference. But we have Artisan, which is, of course, a massive one. I've tried to stay away from making decks very, very consistent with this format. I've never really explained the process or the origins of deciding what power levels I should be using. But Artisan I thought was a really decent stadium because not only does it combo really well with cards like I think it's Falconer, was it Dendra? No, it's Falconer. Falconer, which says draw 2 cards and you have Stadium in play, draw 2 more. Basically, I really like stadiums, and I think when you include stadiums that aren't busted, like Path to the Peak, I mean, there's no reason to play Path to the Peak in this format because there's no Roblox Pokemon. But, still, less powerful stadiums like that in Chaotic Swell means that there's just a lot more variety, and Artisan really just helps with consistency because consistency isn't the biggest concern for this format, and it's mostly based on lower level draw power. It's a very strong stadium. Calamitous Wasteland is really good for retreating. Not retreating, I should say. Basically increases retreat cost of non-basic fighting Pokemon, so if you're playing a fighting type deck or you're playing some kind of control deck, then Calamitous Wasteland is really strong. We've got Practice Studio, which I think was supposed to be called Lesson Studio or Training Studio, and then it got translated weird. But yeah, Practice Studio, for some reason, each Stage 1 Pokemon do plus 10 damage. Really interesting card in this format because, of course, it's only a handful of legal Stage 1s that are, actually playable and stuff. So Practice Studio, interesting card for them. Dendra, one of the first few actual proper draw supporters added to the format outside of just draw 3, draw 2 effects. So Dendra is an interesting addition. Falconer, as mentioned before, is really powerful because just so many viable stadiums, like the Single Strike and Rapid Strike ones. Got a Gear in here as well to discard a special energy from each of your opponent's Pokemon. There is currently no plans to add Enhanced Hammer, I think it was, that wasn't added. It's either Enhanced Hammer or there was another item that removed multiple energy at a time, and I just thought it was too powerful, so Gear seems like a decent option. And then Grusha for the early turns, because most Pokemon are only using 1 or 2 attacks. There's even some Pokemon legal that don't have any attack cost at all in their attacks, so Grusha feels like a natural inclusion in those decks, such as, Hisuian Quillfish or Alolan Diglett. Delivery Drone, I'm going to be honest with you, is only here because it's just not overpowered and it's kind of bad. So, Delivery Drone is, yeah, I think all PC is honestly a lot better than this, but either way, Delivery Drone is still here. Jet Energy, because I thought Therapeutic Energy was just a bit much, removing special conditions or preventing them, because honestly, special conditions kind of just suck in Standard. So having a format where special conditions are a lot more important because of all the basics that do them, then yeah, I just thought Jet Energy would be a better choice than Therapeutic Energy. Also, you can only run 2 copies of Switch and 2 copies of Escape Rope per deck anyway, so having access to Jet Energy is also really nice. As for the Pokemon, though, I won't be reading out every single Pokemon here, but just going over some interesting ones. You notice different patterns with each set, what kind of Pokemon get added to the format, and you will notice there's always a lot of grass types added to Lechonk League because they typically do less damage and have lower hit points. Compared to fire types like Fuecoco and Charcadet would have around 80 to 90 HP. So unfortunately, there will be less fire types probably added in the future as Pokemon continue to slightly power creep single prize basics. And then as you see that water types are in a similar position, honestly. I think there's less and less water types also going to be added, but we'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully they remain low HP. Lightning types, honestly a really good set for lightning types for the Trunk League. We've got the 2 water rolls, one of them with United Wings. Of course, United Wings isn't super broken in this format, but because we can only run 3 Pokemon that actually have the effect, so the max damage you will ever do is 40, unless I decide to add Ditto, and then in that case you'll be doing 60. But basically, yeah, so max damage is, of course, 40 damage, so nothing too crazy there, but Famigo does have a lot of hit points, and you would be heating Pokemon. Yeah, you would be hitting different Pokemon for different weaknesses. So you have Water Roll for lightning types, you have Murkrow for dark types, and then Famigo is colors. So decent choices overall. And then you have the other Water Roll, which has the attack Devastating Wind for colors. Your opponent shuffles their hand to a deck and draws 4 cards, just really nice to have in a control deck. Also have Shinx, which can force out Retreat out, but because Klefki's in the format as well, a bit annoying to be honest, so I don't think Shinx is wild. Got Tandem Mouse, only 30 HP, but does have the Attack Collect, which is pretty decent. So yeah, that's about it for this page. As for the second page, we'll see a lot of Psychic Pokemon legal. I know Psychic types, I think, are probably the best typing in the format by like a landslide because just so many fun and unique single prize basic Psychic types. For some reason, Pokemon like really hate Colorless, Dark, and Fire sometimes, and then give all the cool effects to Psychic. So, for example, Tail Fishing on Slowpoke. Honestly, Zen Headbutt for 2 energy does 30 damage. Seems a bit OP for this format because of how low HP is. Honestly, Slowpoke just kind of had to make it in because of how interesting Tail Fishing was, and it's just kind of rare that we get cool attacks like that. So, yeah, thought it was worth including. As for the rest of the Psychic types, nothing too crazy. You saw that Tinkating from earlier that allows you to retrieve an item card, which is pretty cool. As for the Fighting types, nothing too wild. There is a Glimmet here with Ascension, and there is no Glamora in the format. So you may be wondering, okay, why is that card even here? So basically, the only reason this card is here is if we ever get a Glamora in the future that's just really terrible and could make it in as a stage 1. So I think it's worth it to include Mons with Ascension. You know, you could make the argument why even show this card, but you know, it's just here for reference basically. And you know, if you're a fan of Glimmet, then you could play Glimmet, which has 70 HP and does Rock Throw for 20 damage. So that's nice. Dark types are honestly pretty cool. Got Paldea and Whipper as mentioned earlier to find a stadium. Murkrow with great attacks actually. Spin Turn is pretty decent, and United Wings is pretty solid. Then we've got Shroodle to retrieve basic energy, another Shroodle to do poison. Mastiff's okay, Sneasel's a bit generic. Dunsparce, finding a Pokemon. Slack off 2 colors, puts your opponent's active to sleep. Definitely better choices for sleep Pokemon, but here if you like Slack off. And then Rookie D with the disruption of sending your opponent's active back to their bench. So just looking to the future here, there will be a Pokemon Card 151 update. This is already on the document, so I'm not sure if I'll bother making a video, but I might because just so many Pokemon added. There will be a deck profile soon. I said this on the last video, but I am still working on a deck profile for this format, so that will be coming. Gameplay, let me know if you want to try this format out. I did receive some interest from, I believe it was Phalanx TCG. If you're still interested, then do let me know. And anyone else, I guess, if you want to, build a deck for this format and you have any questions or all, just let me know. Potential event at some point with enough interest. This is obviously like looking far, far into the future because I really don't know if this format has any kind of staying power, but this will be months away into the future. If we got at least 8 people really potentially for a tournament, that'd be cool. And then Obsidian Flames update, of course, there has been a lot of really cool and interesting supporters actually and trainers, so I'm excited for Obsidian Flames. But yeah, it's been Emma Power. There's actually no thanks for watching this time, my bad. But yeah, thanks for watching. It's been Emma Power. Let me know what you think about this format down below. Is this something you'd be interested in playing in? And yeah, thank you for watching.